first of all, we have the best job in the world. We're so fortunate to be able to do what we do and do what we love. So we're really happy to actually be starting our 15th season with your very concerts. So that's very exciting for us. And the repertoire that we play always is forward thinking, kind of exemplifies the mission of the group, which is to show the breadth and the diversity that exists in the wind quintet repertoire. So that is very indicative here. The first piece that's on the program is a jazz standard called Afro Blue that was made popular by John Coltrane. But our very own Valerie Coleman, the flute player in the group, she is the one that arranged that piece. And she and Jeff, our French hornist, are consummate arrangers and composers, and they are constantly bringing new works to the group. So we always feature some of their pieces. In fact, another piece on the program is Jeff's a piece called Homage to Duke, that is a tribute to Duke Ellington and specifically his sacred music. And then we're going to play a piece that is by a composer. Once again, we have this affiliation with jazz artists, with big names in that realm and how they have affected the classical world. And so we decided to commission late last year a jazz pianist by the name of Danilo Perez. He's a Panamanian-born pianist, and he is a fantastic band leader. He's an educator, a presenter, and most recently he's performed with the great Wayne Shorter, who we had a chance to perform with a few years back, and that's how that collaboration happened. So he wrote a piece called Travesias Panamanias, Panamanian Travels. And so that is, it's an epic story of trials and tribulations of actually the Indian people, the native people of Panama. And so it's very interesting and very beautiful, taxing at times, just not on the ear per se, but conceptually, just really goes to these various storylines that those people long before the modern day, before the Spanish got there to conquer, so to speak. So there's just lots of storylines that run throughout that piece. Then we're going to play probably what is the most standard in the quintet repertoire, a piece by the Brazilian composer Heitor Villa-Lobos. And standard, of course, is still within the 20th century. So we're still, it's still within the realm of new music. But, for sure, that piece is one of the most, sought after and, part of the canon of wind quintet repertoire at this point. It's the quintet informed a choros. And a choros is a traditional Brazilian street dance. And you see that all over Brazil in various forms. And so Villa-Lobos was very attracted to that native art form of his own country, but with his own classical twist. And then we play a selection of pieces that we call the East-West Suite that have kind of been new to us to a certain extent, but it's meshing the worlds of Middle Eastern music, showing the Jewish tradition of klezmer dances, klezmer music, as well as an arrangement by a Palestinian composer named Simone Shaheen, and that is called Dance Mediterranean. The group has had all the same members since the very beginning. So this whole idea of our 15th year being started, it's sometimes hard for even us to believe that we've known each other for just a little less than half our lives. So we all came to the table realizing that something was really special about this idea of an African-American Latino wind quintet kind of coming on the scene with our various backgrounds, but similar with our similar desires to change the way this classical format of a wind quintet, traditional format of a wind quintet, is viewed, and the way that it sounds. It really has, unfortunately, a kind of light and fluffy mindset to it, connotation to it, the wind quintet. And so it's sort of, the stepchild of chamber music. Everyone loves string quartets and piano trios. You can dig in and you just see string players sawing away at their instrument, but with wind players, you don't really get the chance to often, I think, to see the beauty of the diversity within these instruments. So we're starting from that platform alone, trying to just exemplify the beauty of the wind quintet, and then bringing our own heritage in on top of that. So we all felt like that was a really interesting and fantastic platform to create a career. Indeed. How do you balance it? Very carefully, and I believe with a good date book. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, and then on top of that, we've got two members that are married. One of us has a baby, Toyin, our oboist. She's a fairly new mom at this point. Her daughter is 2.5. You'll meet her. She comes on the road with us. So then, right, there's the family life on top of all of that. But I think, when you're committed to wanting, first of all, we have the best job in the world. We talk about this often, that, especially in today's economy and the way jobs are so scarce in so many parts of the country, that we're so fortunate to be able to do what we do and do what we love. So, we balance that. We just love what we do so much that I think it isn't as much of a chore as it may seem. It just does take handy planning and it's a challenge. It can be a challenge, but fortunately we have great family around us, supportive family and friends, foundation. And then there's us. There's just the 5 of us that isn't in a family in and of itself. Right. We enjoy each other so much and want to spend time together. And so it's a really, again, just a beautiful opportunity that we've had and try to take care of as much as we can. I always say, all of a tour is about 20% playing and 80% everything else. Right. 80% of walking out of my house, getting to the airport, flying there, the rental car, the hotel, and then we give a 2-hour concert, right. But that 2 hours or that, 45 minutes with kids or teaching a masterclass of students, which we'll see in all of those little moments make up for the rest of the big, the rest of the time. Where you're not, that energy, you're right, that you get from the stage and from that interaction it's the food, it's our fuel, it makes it work for us, absolutely. What's happened is that composers don't even know that they want to write for us or that they might have an interest. We've gone to them and said, hey, you don't know this, but we think that you might write a really great piece for us. So I think it's ended up being a really cool collaboration. And that's a good point of it too, that we've worked with these composers. We've worked with them at every step of the way. They send us drafts. They send us sketches of what they're hearing, what they're thinking. I'll tell you one quick story, which is just about the piece, the composer Simone Shaheen. I keep referring to him to get to your point of, how did it make our lives kind of crazy, or difficult. So he wrote a piece and that is, steeped in what's called the maqam. Maqam is a Middle Eastern scale system. And it's completely unlike the Western scale of, half steps and whole steps. And it deals very specifically in quarter tones and half flats, half sharps. So the notes in between the black and white keys, for anybody that everybody knows what a piano looks like. So there's one note, then there's the next note. And so in between those keys, there's more notes, lots and lots of more notes. And so he wrote an entire suite, a 2-movement work that has us using these particular scales. And he plays an instrument called the oud, O-U-D. And it's a stringed instrument, it's much like a lute. So kind of a Middle Eastern lute, guitarish instrument. And so incredibly beautiful. But we worked with him for 4 weeks straight before the premiere. and had him listen so integrally and so specifically to how we were playing these quarter steps. And he would say, oh, that's too sharp, up too flat. And we're talking about quarter tones. You know, his ear was so trained to hear and to know what the intonation was of that system. So that was pretty crazy because we just were trying our best, and you have to kind of forget about everything you've learned in conservatory for the last, 20 years of your career and just allow yourself to be immersed in this other hit system, in this other system of music. And it was all written down. It was all very, it was oral to a certain extent, but things were standard in that regard. So yeah, so that's when it was some frustrating moments at times too, because we're like, we still don't have this right. Are you serious? But of course, joyous and again, just a wonderful opportunity to go outside our own comfort zone and our own box that exists. No, we do. We often are able to work right with the composer. What I was just describing, like that was right with Simone and working with him directly. And he's so interested. He wants us to learn. And so we have teachers / composers in a way too, those that want to impart their wisdom about their craft onto us. Stefan Harris is another one. He's a friend of ours really, and wrote a piece that we premiered as a part of the commissioning project a couple of seasons ago, and we studied with him for several sessions in the art of improvising and realizing that although we don't claim to be jazz musicians, but we have a sensibility, everyone has a sensibility about them for improvising. And all you need to do is kind of unlock that door that's behind most of us, because we, as classical musicians, we read what's on the page and try to interpret as best we can. But there's so much more behind that. So with him, for instance, we were able to work with him and have these sessions and, just kind of realize where our ears could go. So fortunately, yes, we have had that chance to work directly with the composers. And then, of course, there's Valerie and Jeff that are right here in the group bringing music to us. And, we're the ultimate guinea pigs for them. Valerie wrote a piece called a concerto, actually, for wind quintet. It's called the Afro-cuban concerto. And, it indeed has its roots in with just the quintet, but it is written for orchestra as well, for wind quintet and orchestra, and we've fortunately been able to play it with orchestra a few times. But it also has a wind quintet only version, and so she used traditional Cuban rhythms for each movement of the work, and in the third movement particularly, there's this rumba dance rhythm that she has us doing. And it's a really fast clip as well, and so it's just this rhythm called dun gun 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 dun gun 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 dun gun gun. So there's this last beat that happens right before the downbeat, and it's so easy to either put it on 4 or on the. You could be
round it off.
Bump 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 bump. But yeah, you can round up. And so, but that's the composite rhythm. Each of us have only portions of that rhythm that we have to fit together as a puzzle. So that's been with us almost since the beginning, probably for about 10 years now. She wrote that. And every time we bring it back into the repertoire, every few seasons, it still is challenging. We still literally, the metronome is out at every rehearsal.
Yeah.
The tuner out at every rehearsal to this day. So that's one that sticks in my mind that continues to just be one of those pieces. I mean, geez, like it's just is that complicated. I think so. I think the opening number, actually, Afro Blue, that we're playing is for sure going to be that is that audience pleaser for sure. It's a piece that's in a call and response format, and so we actually enter the stage one by one, and the call is in the French horn, and then you hear each person responding to that opening melody call one by one as we enter. So it's a visually appealing piece as well as oral. I mean, you get sort of that just all encompassing, all senses aroused sort of feeling. And and we usually get the audience involved. I won't give it away, but yes, we get them involved a bit with a little bit of, I'll just tell you, vocal call and response as well. So, that's one piece I think for sure that has that special place in the repertoire. Yeah. We really think about being focused in the moment on that piece. So, this Afro Blue is this huge extravaganza. It's lots of fun. We're standing up, we're engaging the audience, and then, okay, now it's time to get to work. Now, Danilo Perez's piece, I think, is what follows that. It's the second piece on the program. So even within its own Latin heritage, so to speak, it's not similar at all to the Cuban heritage that Afro Blue is. So, so I think we try to just compose ourselves and get right away on what that piece at that moment will be trying to say. We do often do some themed programs. I shouldn't say often, but we have done those sort of things. And even within that, it's still sort of each piece has its own representation of itself. I guess it has to have its own focus, its own purpose, if you will. So, I don't think it's too difficult for us. We relish in that. We enjoy, what's going to happen next. We enjoy that sort of adventure. Again, he's the piano player with the Wayne Shorter Quartet and in and of himself. So we knew him really from speaking about the music, knowing the music rather, and his compositional prowess with that, right. And his approach to harmony and his ear, and we thought he would just come up with an incredible piece of music. Mm-hmm. And also his devotion to his own heritage and country. He's a real patriotic person when it comes to the country of Panama. I mean, he is a part of various cultural activities in the country. He runs a series down there of some sort. So he lives in Boston. He teaches at New England Conservatory, and so he's totally based here. But his home of Panama is very much ingrained. So I think we were more attracted to that part of him. And then learning about his feelings of chamber music and the importance, everything you just described, that was kind of a byproduct, I think. It's one of those great things that often happens, you learn about something and then you say, oh, we have more in common than we knew, So many things, serendipity is just so many things have happened and you didn't think that was going to happen, or how did it happen? It didn't seem as though it would be a big of a deal at the time, but then it turned into this wonderful collaboration, and that has happened more than once with us. Oh, that's wonderful. We're kind of cosmic like that. It's a little weird. We've gotten overall, you can't ever please everyone all the time, that's for sure. But in a pretty majority sort of way, the audiences that we come across in different parts of the country, different parts of the world are very excited about what we offer. I think a lot of it has to do, in all honesty, with the lack of knowledge. Just getting back to the wind quintet being sort of this sideways child in the chamber family, believe me, I've heard more times than I can count. I had no idea that the bassoon sounded that way, then there's my wife made me come to this, or or I think this is my favorite. I was planning not to like this.
But they couldn't help themselves.
Right. I just want you to know I was planning to not enjoy myself. When we say, okay, well, how did that work out for you? Yeah. Oh, it was great. So, I think, there's people bring their own preconceived notions to the table of thinking that they're not really going to enjoy its wind. They think band music. They think something that's kind of Yeah, just square and not really enjoyable, so you've got that on the table, unfortunately, to begin with. I mean, universities are a little bit different because like where you guys are, where we'll be, obviously there's an infrastructure there. So, but sometimes smaller communities that are just concert series and a group of people trying to bring music to their community. We often are the only group that may have wins for the whole season. And so we think of ourselves as educators, not just on the student teacher level, but on the audience performer level as well, just showing that all of this is there. So yeah, I think, and then the to address the diversity thing, I think it's actually better because most people will say, I love the variation that you brought. I love that this piece sounded that way and then this was way different. And so they actually enjoy that diversity, that variation. And they, you don't have time to not like something. So if you don't like it, it'll be over in a couple of minutes.